Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're opening up some really fascinating source material, stuff that kind of challenges the whole idea of what it takes to be a digital creator these days.
Yeah, we're looking at excerpts from the Pixonova Frequency podcast.
And it's all focused on this one pretty provocative question. Can AI, actually turn anyone into a serious game creator, even if you've never touched code or composed music?
That's exactly our mission for this deep dive, and it's really important for you, the listener, whether you're just starting out, maybe a hobbyist, or even a seasoned pro developer, because these sources, they capture this dialogue between Aiden Vox, the dreamer, and NOVA-9, the logic architect. Our job is to pull out the key practical stuff for creators, how AI is making things accessible, democratizing it, but also critically figuring out where human imagination still fits in, because it has to be central, right?
Right, because traditionally, if you had some big idea, like that floating cyberpunk city example or a really detailed cyber forest, that meant, hiring tons of people, building custom tools, huge budgets, and just years of wrestling with technical problems, technical debt, just to get the basics working.
Exactly.
But this source material suggests that whole technical gate, it's basically vanishing. You just need to describe the world you imagine.
That is the huge shift. And NOVA-9 nailed it, saying the distance between imagination and creation has never been shorter. AI is becoming the new canvas, and anyone can paint.
Anyone can paint. Wow.
Yeah, the barrier used to be like years of specialized training. Now, it's about how clearly you can articulate your vision.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's start with the really tangible stuff AI is changing, like the actual building blocks, world building, design foundations. What tools are out there that mean you don't need to be a 3D modeling whiz anymore?
Well, the sources highlight a couple of key levels here. First, you've got platforms like Scenario. And what's interesting about Scenario is it's not just spitting out generic stuff. It lets creators, could be anyone, hobbyists, small studios, train the AI on their own specific art style.
Ah, okay.
So if your game's look is, say, gritty 1940s film noir, you teach the AI that.
Yeah.
Then you prompt it, like a neon city sign flickering in the rain, and boom, you get 3D assets ready to go in your style.
That's huge, because that addresses that fear, doesn't it? That AI means everything looks the same.
Exactly.
But if you can train it on your style,
Yeah.
then the style itself becomes the unique thing, not just the technical execution.
Precisely. Your vision is the differentiator. And that idea, lowering the barrier for the visuals, it goes even further with tools like Blockade Labs.
Right, they do the Skybox AI thing.
That's them. Blockade Labs is basically designed to generate entire, immersive 3D worlds from just text prompts, think background environments, skyboxes. And the sources are really clear on this. No coding needed. No prior experience with Unity or Unreal needed.
Just words.
Just words. You get a whole volumetric environment from a sentence or two.
So the visual foundation of a potentially really complex game world, someone could lay that down in, what, minutes?
Potentially, yeah. If their core skill is that imaginative description.
And this isn't just happening in separate apps anymore, is it? It's moving into the main game engines.
That's the other massive shift. Unity's new tools, Muse AI, and Senses.
Right.
They're integrating natural language prompts right inside the editor.
So you're not importing stuff anymore, you're just asking.
You're literally asking the engine, create a mountain range here, or draft a basic quest structure for finding this item, or give me an NPC with this kind of personality.
Wow.
So when the sources talk about technical debt, think about what that means for a solo creator. It used to be endless hours coding basic systems or painstakingly sculpting every hill and valley.
Yeah.
Now, the AI handles a lot of that baseline competence, So it's not just making design accessible, it's potentially enabling a whole new wave of solo studios. Studios powered purely by how fast they can iterate on their ideas.
Okay, so that covers the look, the stage.
Yeah.
But a world needs atmosphere, right?
Yeah.
It needs a pulse. Let's talk sound, music, that emotional core.
Absolutely crucial. And AI is stepping in there too, composing music at a scale and speed that's...
Well, it's seriously disruptive. You've got names like Suno AI, Moobert, Udio leading the charge.
Suno's the one that blew up recently.
Yeah, the sources mentioned Suno hit over 1 million users back in early 2025. Think about that. 1 million people generating unique, often copyright-free soundtracks in seconds.
Many without any formal music background.
Exactly. None needed.
I mean, I remember the days scoring even a small indie game was either super expensive licensing or you had to learn music theory, get deep into complex software.
Right. Digital audio workstations, yeah. steep learning curve.
But I think Udio, that feels like the next leap for game creators specifically.
Ooh.
Because it's interactive. It really is.
Yeah.
Udio's standout feature, according to the sources, is its adaptive music engine.
Yeah.
It reacts to what's happening in the game in real time.
Which is usually really hard to implement.
Oh, incredibly complex traditionally. You needed intricate programming, branching logic to make music change when combat starts or speed up in a chase.
Yeah.
Now, a creator can set it up so the soundtrack just does it. The music ramps up when the boss NPC appears. And the creator didn't have to code that specific response loop themselves.
So the focus shifts for the creator. They worry about the emotional moment, like going from suspense to outright panic.
Right.
And the AI handles translating that into the actual music.
That's the idea. It completely bridges that skill gap. You don't need to know orchestration to get a cinematic score anymore. The key insight here is, the machine handles the theory, the arrangement, the timing, but, and this quote's important, the emotion remains. AI just translates it.
The human provides the why, the emotional context.
Exactly.
Okay, this is where it gets really fascinating for me. We've talked about AI removing barriers for visuals, for assets, for music. Now let's connect those dots. What does this mean for the potential power of just one person, the solo creator? Are we genuinely seeing the rise of the one-person studio capable of making complex games?
Feels like it. It's this synthesis of all these capabilities coming together. I mean, look at the assembly line the sources kind of lay out.
Yeah.
A single person, potentially, has access to all the core components. Worlds. You can use scenario or Blockade Labs, characters, Leonardo, AI, animation, Pixonova Labs is mentioned.
Right, getting things moving.
Music, Suno or Udio.
Got the soundtrack.
And then, crucially, dialogue and logic. The ChatGPT API.
And maybe just quickly for the listener, that API, the ChatGPT API, that's basically the tool that lets you plug that powerful AI language understanding into your game, right? For dynamic conversations, story variations, avoids tons of pre-scripted dialogue trees. And NPC, that's just non-player character, the people in the game world.
Correct, on both counts. And the fact that all 5 of those pillars, environment, character, movement, sound, and logic, are becoming prompt-driven, that's the revolution.
Which leads us to that really powerful quote from the sources.
Yeah. One person can now do what once required 50.
50?
The only limit is the story you want to tell.
That says it all about democratization, doesn't it? But let me push back slightly there.
Okay.
If AI handles all those technical bits, modeling, coding, music theory, which part of that 5-part assembly line, if you had to pick one, is the biggest power shift for that solo creator?
That's a really good question. The visuals are obviously flashy, super impressive. But I think I'd argue the biggest shift actually comes from that last one, using something like the ChatGPT API for quest logic and dialogue.
Really? Why that one?
Because assets, okay, they're necessary, you need them. But game logic, dialogue systems, quest structures, that stuff is inherently complex. It involves branching paths, state management, loads of intricate scripting usually.
Yeah, the stuff that makes your head hurt.
Right. So removing the need to manually code all those multi-layered interactions and instead letting the creator just outline the narrative beats, the character goals, and letting the AI handle filling in the conversational possibilities or managing the quest state, that frees up an enormous amount of cognitive load. It lets the creator focus purely on the story architecture, the pacing, the emotional impact.
Okay, I see that. It's not just saving time, it's saving complexity management.
Exactly. I think that's the real engine behind the one-person studio revolution.
Which inevitably brings us to that big philosophical question Aiden Vox raised in the sources. If the machine can build everything competently, what's actually left for us, for the human?
Yeah, the unavoidable question. What is our value when the tools get this good? When the AI handles the technical debt, the polygons, the code, the music theory, what's the unique, enduring contribution only a human brings?
And NOVA-9, despite being the logic architect, had a surprisingly human answer for that, didn't it?
It did. It wasn't about technical superiority. NOVA-9 defined the human value as the vision, the emotion, the imperfection that makes stories human.
Imperfection, that's interesting.
It's subtle, but yeah, really powerful. The AI delivers competence, maybe even technical perfection. But the human provides the context. The human decides why this floating city exists, What struggle defines the character's journey? What feeling should the player walk away with?
And that imperfection part, maybe that's the key thing for our listener to grab onto. In games, imperfection isn't always bad, right? Sometimes it's the weird bug that becomes legendary or the messy character choice that makes the story stick with you.
Precisely. The machine aims for flawless execution according to its rules.
But maybe humans bring the interesting flaws, the meaningful mistakes.
That's exactly what the sources seem to suggest. If everything is technically perfect, polished to a sheen by AI, the result can feel sterile, empty. It's the human creator who injects the rough edges, the surprising narrative turn, the character who makes a relatable bad decision, the gameplay moment that wasn't strictly planned but emerges beautifully. That's the infusion of lived experience, of relatable messiness.
And Aiden Vox had that great analogy to kind of crystallize this.
Oh, yeah, the symphony one. It's very memorable.
AI might write the symphony, but it can't feel the rhythm. The machine gets the structure, the notes, the rules of composition, the rules of code.
But it doesn't get the feeling, the unique perspective, the pulse of life that makes you actually care about the creation.
Right. So the human role becomes amplification, amplifying their unique viewpoint, their emotional intent.
So even if you're not a coder, not a composer,
Yeah.
your ability to provide that vision, that emotional drive, and maybe your willingness to embrace, even inject, that human imperfection, that's what turns these powerful AI tools into something that actually connects with people. That's the synthesis. That's the value proposition for the human creator in this new era.
Okay, so let's pull this all together. After this whole deep dive, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener, sitting there, armed with this knowledge?
I think it means that era of technical gatekeeping, especially in a field as ambitious as game development, it's ending fast. AI is effectively wiping out a huge chunk of the traditional technical debt, the years of specialized skill needed just to get started. Your raw technical skill is becoming secondary. What matters more now is your imaginative velocity. How fast can you articulate and iterate on your ideas?
So your imagination is the prime resource now, not how well you code C# or sculpt polygons. The barrier isn't really technical anymore. Maybe it's more narrative, more about the story you want to tell.
That feels right.
You're basically a creator armed with these incredibly powerful translation tools, tools that can turn thought into, well, almost reality, instantly.
Which brings us to that final, really provocative thought from NOVA-9.
Yeah.
It sort of defines this moment. So maybe you're not a coder. Maybe you've never composed. But with AI, you're already a creator. So the challenge we'd leave you with is this. What story, what specific feeling, or maybe what unique human imperfection can only you bring to this new landscape? What will you inject into the machine-generated world that makes it yours? That decision. That's where your real value is going to lie.